What if you possessed superhuman strength, but your greatest weakness was your own heart? This is the story of Samson, a man chosen by God, whose incredible power was matched only by his all-too-human flaws. Our tale begins over 3,000 years ago in ancient Israel. The Israelites, God's chosen people, have turned away from him, worshiping false idols. As punishment, God allows the Philistines to oppress them. But he hasn't abandoned his people. He has a plan, and it starts with a miracle. An angel appears to a barren woman and her husband, Manoah. The angel promises them a son who will begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines. There's a catch, though. The child must be dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. This means he can never cut his hair, drink alcohol, or touch anything unclean. Months later, Samson is born. As he grows, it becomes clear he's no ordinary boy. The Bible tells us, "The Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him." Samson develops incredible strength, far beyond that of any normal man. Fast forward to Samson as a young man. He falls in love with a Philistine woman, much to his parents' dismay. On his way to see her, a lion attacks him. Samson, empowered by the Spirit of the Lord, tears the lion apart with his bare hands as easily as if it were a young goat. This is just the beginning of Samson's legendary feats of strength. Later, at his wedding feast, Samson poses a riddle to 30 Philistine companions. Unable to solve it, they pressure Samson's new wife to get the answer from him. When she betrays Samson's trust, he's furious. In his anger, he kills 30 Philistines to pay off the bet. This marks the start of Samson's one-man war against the Philistines. Samson's exploits become the stuff of legend. He single-handedly defeats 1,000 Philistines with nothing but the jawbone of a donkey. He carries off the gates of Gaza on his shoulders. The Philistines live in fear of this one man, unable to subdue him through force. But Samson has a weakness: beautiful women. Enter Delilah, a Philistine woman whom Samson falls deeply in love with. The Philistine leaders see an opportunity. They bribe Delilah to discover the secret of Samson's strength. 3 times, Delilah asks Samson for the secret, and 3 times he lies to her. Each time, she tries to betray him, but his strength remains. Finally, worn down by her constant nagging, Samson reveals the truth. His strength lies in his uncut hair, the symbol of his Nazirite vow to God. While Samson sleeps, Delilah cuts his hair. His strength leaves him, and the Philistines capture him easily. They gouge out his eyes and force him to grind grain in prison. Samson, once mighty and free, is now blind and enslaved. But this isn't the end of Samson's story. In prison, his hair begins to grow back. More importantly, he turns back to God, recognizing his mistakes and renewing his faith. The Philistines, celebrating their victory, bring Samson out to entertain them in the temple of their god Dagon. Thousands of people pack the temple, including all the Philistine rulers. Samson, standing between 2 central pillars, prays to God one last time. He asks for strength, just once more, to avenge himself on the Philistines. God answers his prayer. Samson pushes against the pillars with all his might. The temple collapses, killing Samson along with more Philistines than he had killed in his entire life. As the Bible puts it, he killed many more when he died than while he lived. Samson's story is a powerful tale of strength, weakness, and redemption. But what lessons can we draw from it for our lives today? First, we see that great gifts come with great responsibility. Samson was given incredible strength, but he often used it for personal vengeance rather than God's purpose. How often do we misuse our own talents and abilities? Second, Samson's story warns us about the dangers of pride and arrogance. Despite his strength, Samson was vulnerable to flattery and manipulation. He repeatedly ignored wisdom and followed his own desires, leading to his downfall. Third, we learn about the power of temptation. Samson's weakness for women repeatedly led him into trouble. In our own lives, we must be aware of our vulnerabilities and guard against them. Fourth, Samson's story teaches us about the consequences of our actions. Every choice Samson made had repercussions, not just for himself, but for his people as well. Our decisions, too, can have far-reaching effects. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, Samson's tale is one of redemption. Even after all his mistakes, when Samson returned to God in humility and faith, God answered his prayer. This reminds us that it's never too late to turn our lives around and seek forgiveness. Samson's life was a mixture of triumph and tragedy. He was a flawed hero, a man of great strength but also great weakness. Yet in the end, he fulfilled his purpose, beginning to deliver Israel from the Philistines. His story continues to captivate us thousands of years later. It reminds us that God can work through imperfect people to accomplish his will. It challenges us to use our own strengths wisely, to guard against our weaknesses, and to always turn to God in times of need. As we reflect on Samson's story, let's ask ourselves, what are our strengths? How are we using them? What are our weaknesses, and how can we guard against them? And most importantly, how can we, like Samson in his final moments, turn to God and align our lives with his purpose? The story of Samson, with all its drama and lessons, continues to inspire and teach us today. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith, the complexity of human nature, and the unfailing mercy of God. May we learn from Samson's triumphs and failures as we strive to live lives of purpose and faith in our own time. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more Bible stories.